I found my things in garbage bags by the gate. My mother stood there with my brothers and sisters. "You're 29. Get out now." I smiled, got in the car, and drove away. They forgot the fact that I had been supporting the family, and a month later they called me and begged me to come back, but it was too late. I noticed them from afar, black garbage bags stacked neatly at the gate of our house. At first, I thought it was my mother's cleaning. She liked to tidy up, especially when she was nervous, and she was nervous a lot lately. As I parked my old Honda, I pulled my phone out of my bag. 4 missed calls from Abby, my little sister. Strange, she usually preferred texting. It had been a long day. A 12-hour shift in the ICU had exhausted me to the max. An elderly patient with pneumonia had almost died in my arms, and only my timely reaction had saved the situation. I longed for a hot shower and a cup of tea, maybe even dinner if my mom had prepared something. Stepping out of the car, I froze. Something was wrong. The front door swung open, and Mom appeared on the doorstep, straight as a string with her lips pressed together. My brothers Jason and Michael were behind her, like an entourage behind a queen, and Abby was just behind her, pale and downcast. "Mom?" I pointed at the bags. "What's going on?" "It's your stuff, Rachel." Her voice sounded harsh, like she was struggling with each word. "You're 29 years old. It's time to live your life." I blinked, trying to comprehend what I was hearing. "What? What are you talking about?" "You don't live here anymore." She crossed her arms over her chest. "We talked it over and decided it was for the best." "Discussed? Who are we?" I looked at my brothers and sister. Jason, barely 22, was looking over my head. Michael, 19, was shuffling nervously from foot to foot. Abby, 17, looked like she was about to cry. "This is our home, Rachel," Mom continued, "and we thought you were old enough to start your own life." My knees went weak, my mouth dry. Is this some kind of joke? A prank? But Mom's face remained as still as if carved in stone. "But, I help with the mortgage, the utilities, groceries." "We'll manage," she said. "I have a job. Jason has a job. We don't need your help anymore." The air caught in her lungs. 5 years. 5 years I gave up almost my entire paycheck to support my family after my father died. 5 years I'd taken extra shifts, given up my vacation, my personal life all for them. I looked around like I was seeing my house for the first time, a small 2-story house in the suburbs with chipped paint on the front and an unkept lawn. The house I'd been paying for the past 5 years. My voice shook, but I swallowed the lump in my throat. Could I at least take my stuff? Not everything will fit in the car at once. "Take what you need now, and come back for the rest later." Mom took a step back, as if she was afraid I'd try to force my way in. As if in a fog, I walked over to the bags. My clothes, books, photos, all were shoved carelessly into the black plastic-like trash. 30 years of my life fit into a dozen bags. "Can I help you?" Michael asked quietly, taking a timid step forward. "No," I shook my head. "I'll be fine." As I loaded the bags into the trunk and into the back seat, I watched Abby crying silently, Jason smoking nervously, looking away, my mom standing as still as a statue. The last thing I took was the bag of photos, the only thing that really mattered to me. Dad fishing with Jason, a family Christmas 5 years ago, the last one before his illness, my medical school graduation ceremony. Closing the trunk, I turned around to the house. They were still standing there, my family, who had just thrown me out like an unwanted item. "I'll pick up the rest over the weekend." My voice sounded strangely calm. "Let me know when you won't be home so I won't be in the way." Mom nodded, still not looking me in the eye. I got in the car, started the engine. My hands were shaking, but I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Suddenly, unexpectedly, I smiled. Not from happiness, but from the absurdity of the situation. The realization that the person I trusted most in the world had just betrayed me in the cruelest way possible. And I left. No tears, no screaming, no dramatic scenes. I just drove away, leaving behind a house that was no longer mine. I drove, not knowing the road, mechanically turning at traffic lights, letting pedestrians pass. My mind was spinning with scraps of thoughts. Where to go? Who to turn to? What to do next? Memory obligingly threw up pictures from the past. Here I am, a college graduate, refusing an offer to work in a prestigious clinic in another city because mom cannot cope alone with the children. Here I am canceling a date because Michael's sick and mom's at work. Here I'm putting most of my paycheck into the family account, leaving myself only the bare necessities. "You're such a good daughter, Rachel," my mom would say when I brought home my next paycheck. "Your father would be proud of you," she'd add when I agreed to babysit the younger ones so she could hang out with her friends. Father. My throat constricted at the thought of him. What would he say when he saw his wife shoving his oldest daughter out the door? I pulled into the parking lot at the Pine Forest Roadside Motel, a cheap but clean place where I'd stayed once when my car was being repaired, and I couldn't get home after a night shift. The receptionist, a full, middle-aged woman with dyed red hair, gave me an assessing look. "Alone?" she asked, and I nodded. "How many nights?" "One," I answered automatically, though I had no idea what I'd be doing tomorrow or where I'd be going. $59. She handed me a keycard. "Room 26, second floor, end of the hall." I paid, grabbed the essentials from the car, and went up to the room. It was a standard room. A double bed, a TV, a small table by the window, and a bathroom with a shower. Clean white walls without a single picture, gray carpeting, green bedspread. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I allowed myself to realize what had happened for the first time during this surreal evening. I had been kicked out of the house. The mother I had supported all these years had put my belongings out in garbage bags. The brothers I'd helped raise watched in silence. The phone in my pocket vibrated. A message from Abby. "I'm sorry. I didn't know they would do that. I love you." I didn't respond. Not because I was mad at Abby. She was just a kid. What could she do? I just didn't know what to say. Standing up, I walked over to the window. My Honda was parked in the parking lot, laden with black bags, all that was left of my old life. I had always been the good daughter, quiet, obedient, willing to sacrifice myself for others. And here was my reward. Strangely, I felt no desire to cry. There was an emptiness inside, a numbness, as if I were watching from the sidelines. It didn't happen to me. It couldn't have happened to me. I showered, changed into my pajamas, which I luckily grabbed from the first bag I saw. I got into bed, turned off the light. The ceiling above my head was unfamiliar. The mattress felt too soft, the pillow uncomfortable. In the darkness of the room, I remembered my father's last words to me before he died. "Take care of them, Rachel. You've always been my strong girl." And I had taken care. For 5 years, I did everything I could to make sure my family didn't need anything. I worked my ass off, forgetting about my own dreams and desires. And now I was lying in a cheap motel, thrown out of my home like a piece of junk. For the first time all day, I felt tears come to my eyes. Not out of resentment, no. It was the realization of betrayal. The realization that someone I trusted unconditionally could do this to me. The phone vibrated again. This time it was ringing. The hospital number. "Rachel?" The head nurse Margaret's voice sounded worried. "I'm sorry to call you so late, but we have an emergency. Carol's ill and Thompson's surgery is tomorrow morning. Can you be out at 7 a.m.? I was almost glad to get that call. Work was something I knew, something I was sure of, something where I was valued. "Yes, of course," I answered. "I'll be there at 7. "You're a miracle, Rachel." Margaret exhaled in relief. "I don't know what we'd do without you." As I hung up the phone, I smiled at the bitter irony. At the hospital, I was indispensable. To my own family, expendable. I set my alarm for 5:30. I needed time to clean up and drive to the hospital. Then I had to decide where to live, what to do with my things, how to build a new life. Falling asleep in someone else's bed, in a cheap motel on the outskirts of town, I suddenly realized that for the first time in years, I was really free. Free of obligation, free of guilt, free of having to constantly live up to other people's expectations. Maybe there was a gift hidden in this nightmare. A chance to start my life with a clean slate? To create something of my own, something real? With this unexpected thought, I fell into a restless dream in which black garbage bags turned into balloons and carried me high into the sky, away from the house that was no longer mine. The morning at the hospital began as usual, with the smell of antiseptic and the hum of voices in the hallway. I habitually changed into my uniform, gathered my hair into a tight bundle, and headed to my post. No one noticed that I'd spent the night in a motel, that all my stuff was now in the trunk of my car, that my life had been turned upside down in the last 12 hours. "Good morning, Rachel. Thanks for helping me out." Margaret, the head nurse of the ward, smiled at me. She was in her mid-50s, with a scattering of freckles on her face and short graying hair. "You're on time as always." "Good," I smiled back. Margaret had always been motherly to me, which was especially valuable now. "What's the plan for today?" "Thompson's surgery at 8:30, then rounds." She looked at me carefully. "Are you okay? You look a little tired." I opened my mouth to reply with my usual, "I'm fine," but suddenly realized I couldn't lie. Not Margaret, who had always been honest with me. "Not really." I lowered my eyes. "I was, kicked out of the house yesterday." Margaret gasped. "What? Kicked out by who? Why?" "Mom," I shrugged, trying to keep my voice calm. "Said I was 29 and it was time for me to live my own life. Packed my stuff into garbage bags and shoved me out the door. Margaret looked as if I'd told her nuclear war had broken out. But, it's your house, and you're helping them financially, right?" "Yes," I nodded. "For the last 5 years, since my father died." Margaret shook her head, clearly shocked. "And where are you now?" "In a motel." I tried to smile. "I'm looking for an apartment." "No motel," Margaret said firmly. "You're moving in with me. My guest bedroom's been empty since Brandon left for college. You'll stay until you find something suitable." "I can't burden you like this," I started, but Margaret didn't let me finish. "It's not up for discussion, Rachel. After your shift, we're going to my place. Right now, the surgery is in half an hour, so we need to get ready." I nodded, feeling a lump come up in my throat. Did a coworker I'd known for 3 years really care more than my own mother? During the surgery, I was on autopilot, feeding instruments, monitoring vitals, following the surgeon's instructions. My hands worked on their own, but my thoughts went back to the past. I was always the invisible child. The oldest of 4 children, a quiet and obedient girl who never caused any trouble. Mom would often say to guests, "Rachel is my right hand, so smart, always doing everything right." But in private, she rarely noticed me. Her attention always went to the younger ones, noisy Jason, cranky Michael, little Abby. The day of my 16th birthday came to mind. I was looking forward to a special celebration, because 16 years is only once. But in the morning, my mom said, "Sorry, honey, Michael has a fever. We have to take him to the doctor. We'll celebrate another day, okay?" There was no other day. It was Jason's birthday a week later, and Mom had thrown him a real party with cake and presents. "Rachel, clamp!" The surgeon's voice brought me back to reality. "I'm sorry." I quickly handed over the instrument. After the surgery and rounds, I went into the recovery room. There on the couch sat Carol, the nurse I was filling in for today. She looked quite healthy. "Hi, Rachel," she smiled. "Thanks for covering for me today. My son's birthday is a holy thing." I blinked confusedly. "My son's birthday?" But Margaret said, "Don't worry." Carol winked. "Margaret knows everything. She said you needed the extra shift anyway." I nodded, not knowing what to say. Margaret lied to give me the opportunity to make extra money? She knew I always needed the extra income because of helping my family. After her shift, Margaret was waiting for me at the exit. "Let's go home," she said simply, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Margaret's house turned out to be a cozy 2-story cottage in a quiet neighborhood, with a neat garden and a porch swing. It smelled of freshly baked bread and cinnamon. "Come on in and make yourself comfortable," Margaret showed me to the guest bedroom, a bright room with a large bed and a desk by the window. "The bathroom is across the hall, and towels are in the cabinet. I'll warm up dinner in the meantime." Over dinner, homemade lasagna and salad, we talked about work, about patients, about the new equipment that was to be installed in the department. Not a word about my situation, for which I was grateful. It wasn't until after dinner, as we sat in the living room with cups of tea, that Margaret asked cautiously, "Do you want to tell me what happened? If not, I'll understand." I took a deep breath. Maybe saying it out loud would be helpful. "My father died 5 years ago," I began. "Stage 4 lung cancer. He was the sole breadwinner in the family. My mom never worked. After he died, I just finished medical school and started working as a nurse. Naturally, I took on all of the family's financial obligations, mortgage, bills, tuition for the younger ones." Margaret nodded without interrupting. "I gave almost my entire paycheck to the house," I continued. "I took extra shifts, holiday shifts. I turned down an offer to work at the Mayo Clinic because it would have meant moving to another state. My mom said she couldn't handle the kids alone, that she needed me, that my dad wanted me to take care of the family." I took a sip of tea, trying to deal with the lump in my throat. "Then yesterday, I come home after my shift, and my stuff is in garbage bags at the gate. My mom stands on the doorstep and tells me it's time for me to get on with my life, that they don't need me anymore." I grinned wryly. "Apparently they were doing fine financially without me." "Rachel," Margaret said quietly, "what your mother did was wrong. It's exploitation. She used your sense of duty, your love, to manipulate you." "I just wanted to help," I whispered. "They're my family." "Family isn't just you taking care of them," Margaret said softly. "It's about mutual support and respect. What your mother did shows that she doesn't respect you, doesn't appreciate your sacrifices." I was silent, digesting what I had heard. Had I been living in an illusion all these years? Believing that I was doing what I had to do, that my family appreciated my efforts? "I wish it weren't true," I said finally. But deep down, I probably always knew it. I just didn't want to admit it. The phone in my pocket vibrated. Another message from Abby. "Are you okay? Mom said you weren't answering your phone. I'm worried." "It's my little sister," I explained to Margaret, "the only one who texted me yesterday." "Answer her." Margaret nodded. She seemed worried. I quickly typed a reply. "I'm fine. I'm staying with a coworker. Don't worry about me." Almost instantly, a reply came back. "Can we talk? It's important." I apologized to Margaret and went out on the porch, dialing Abby's number. "Rachel!" My sister's voice sounded muffled, like she was speaking from under a blanket. "Are you really okay?" "Yes, Abby, don't worry," I said calmly. "I'm at Margaret's, a coworker of mine. She's offered to let me stay with her until I find an apartment." "I'm so sorry," Abby said, tears in her voice. "I should have warned you, but Mom said no. Said if I blabbed, I could pack my bags too." "Hey, it's not your fault," I softened. "You're only 17. You couldn't do anything." "But I had to at least try," she exclaimed. "It's all because of him." "Because of who?" I didn't understand. "Robert!" Abby sounded disgusted. "Mom's new boyfriend. They'd met at her new job 2 months ago. I froze. Mom's seeing someone? Why didn't I know anything about this?" "She got a job? Where?" "At a real estate firm, as a secretary," Abby explained. "Back in March. You didn't know?" "No." I felt the ground slipping away from under my feet. She hadn't told me anything. "Oh," Abby seemed embarrassed. "I thought you knew. She said she discussed it with you." Another lie. How many have there been over the years? "What did her boyfriend have to do with it?" I asked, trying to collect my thoughts. "He started coming over to our house, spending the night," Abby said quietly, as if she was afraid of being overheard. "And then he told my mom that he wasn't comfortable having an adult daughter living in the house, that it was interfering with their relationship. So Mom decided it was time for you to move out." I felt nausea coming up my throat. I was kicked out of the house I practically ran because of some man? "What about the money?" I asked. "Who's going to pay the mortgage, the bills?" "Robert." Abby sounded contemptuous. "He's supposedly wealthy. He owns his own construction company. Promised my mom he'd take care of all the expenses. It all made sense now. I was needed while I was paying the bills. As soon as there was someone willing to take on that role, I was discarded like a piece of junk." "Abby, listen," I said calmly. "Don't confront them because of me, okay? You're still a minor. You need to finish school. If you need anything, call me anytime." "I hate them," Abby whispered. How could they do this to you, after everything you've done for us? Don't hate, I sighed. It's a useless feeling. Just, take care of yourself, okay? And if anything happens, I'm always here for you. After the conversation, I went back into the house. Margaret was sitting on the couch, pretending to read a magazine, but I could see she was worried. Is everything all right? She asked. Yeah, I sat down next to her, just finding out why I got kicked out. And I told her about Mom's new boyfriend, about her job, about the fact that all these years I'd probably been living under the illusion of familial duty my mother had created for me. You know, Margaret said thoughtfully when I was done, maybe it's for the best. For the best? I looked at her incredulously. Yes, she nodded. You're free now. Free to start living for yourself, building a life for yourself. You gave them 5 years, and that's honorable, but you don't have to give them your whole life. I've been thinking, maybe Margaret is right. Maybe there is a silver lining to this painful situation. You know, Margaret continued, you can always find another job. With your experience and references, they'll hire you at any clinic. You could move, make a fresh start. I don't want to leave, I shook my head. Not right now, anyway. Abby's here, and she might need my help. I love my job, my department. Then stay, Margaret smiled. Stay with me as long as you need to. Look for an apartment without rushing. And Rachel, she looked at me seriously, try to see this situation not only as a pain, but as an opportunity to finally live your life. That night, lying in a strange but cozy bed, I thought about Margaret's words, about the possibility of a fresh start, about the freedom I'd never had, the freedom to choose my own path without looking back on my family obligations. And for the first time in those 2 nightmarish days, I felt a faint glimmer of hope. Maybe this ending was actually a beginning. The beginning of my own story in which I would finally be the protagonist, not a minor character in someone else's life. It's been a month, 31 days of a new life. I was still living at Margaret's, though I'd already looked at a small apartment near the hospital. Every morning I woke up feeling strangely light. I didn't have to worry about whether I had enough money for groceries for the whole family. I immersed myself in my work. I took extra shifts, volunteered for night duty, substituted for coworkers. But now I was keeping all the money I earned. For the first time, I was saving for my own future. You work too much, Margaret said at breakfast one day. It's not healthy, Rachel. I need to save for a down payment on an apartment. I shrugged. Besides, work helps me not to think. About family? Yeah, I sighed. Abby writes every day, but the others... Silence. It was like I never existed. That day, I was on call in the ICU. I checked IVs, changed dressings, watched the monitors. Hey, Thornton, you want to take a break? Derek Parker, a nurse on the next ward, called out to me. He was tall, with disheveled dark hair and perpetually tired but attentive eyes, and he'd been working at the hospital a little longer than I had. I can't, Parker. I nodded toward the teenager's room. Alex just fell asleep. I need to check on him every half hour. I'll keep an eye on him. Derek stepped closer. You didn't go out for lunch. That's the 3rd time this week. You're not far from exhaustion. I wanted to object, but my stomach rumbled, confirming his words. Okay, I gave in. 15 minutes. I grabbed a sandwich and a coffee at the cafeteria, sitting at the far table. My thoughts returned to my family. How are they doing? Are they coping financially? Earth to Rachel. Derek set the tray down in front of me. May I join you? Sure, I smiled, glad for the distraction from my gloomy thoughts. You've been different lately. Different, he said. More focused. Or tense? I hesitated. Should I tell my colleague about my personal problems? But something in the look on Derek's face urged me to be honest. I got kicked out of my house, I said simply. A month ago. My mom decided that at 29 it was time for me to live on my own. Derek choked on his coffee. What, really? She just kicked you out? Just kicked me out. I grinned wickedly. I put my stuff in trash bags and put them by the gate. Shit. He shook his head. That's cruel. Where are you living now? Margaret's. I shrugged. She offered to let me stay with her until I found a place of my own. Margaret's gold, Derek nodded. But why would your mom do that? She had a boyfriend who was getting in the way of my presence, and she got a job that she didn't even bother to tell me about, so she didn't need my financial support anymore. Wait, are you saying you supported them? The whole family? For the last 5 years, I nodded. After Dad died, Mom never worked, and the younger ones were still in school. And after all that, He didn't finish the sentence, but there was resentment in his eyes. Rachel, that's awful. I'm so sorry. Thank you, I smiled weakly. But sometimes I think it's for the best. For the first time in years, I can think about myself. That's the right attitude, Derek smiled back. And what are your plans, besides finding an apartment? I don't know yet, I thought. Maybe a refresher course? I've always wanted to specialize in intensive care. That's a great idea, he nodded. I've been thinking about it myself. Why don't we sign up together? They say you learn more effectively in pairs. I felt slightly embarrassed. Was it just a friendly suggestion, or was it more than that? We could, I said cautiously. I'd have to find out the schedule and the cost. After my shift, Margaret met me with the news. Derek was asking about a refresher course, she said with a sly smile. Interesting, isn't it? What's interesting? I didn't understand. Derek's never really been interested in additional training, she explained. Until today. Do you think? I hesitated. I think he likes you, Margaret said simply. And not just as a coworker. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. I liked Derek too. His quiet confidence, his professionalism, his sense of humor. But after everything that had happened with my family, the thought of a new relationship was frightening. That night, lying in bed, I thought about Margaret's words, about the possibilities, about how life doesn't end with the betrayal of family. The phone on the nightstand rang, snapping me out of my musings. Mom's number. My heart skipped a beat. In a month, she hadn't called or written once. And now, at almost midnight. Hello? Rachel? Mom's voice sounded strange, strained, with a slight huskiness, like she was crying. Rachel, is that you? Yes, Mom, it's me. I sat up on the bed. What's wrong? He left, she sounded desperate. Robert, he left, and he took the money. All the money, Rachel. I can't pay the house. I can't pay the bills. Abby needs textbooks. Michael needs a new jacket. I closed my eyes, feeling a wave of different emotions rise up inside. Anger, hurt, pity, tiredness. I'm sorry, Mom, I finally said. But what can I do to help? Come home, she said, a pleading tone in her voice. Please, Rachel, we can't do this without you. You've always been so reliable, so responsible. Your father would want you to take care of us. Familiar words, the same ones she's been manipulating me with all these years. Your father would want you to. As if she knew what my father would have wanted. No. The word came out quietly but firmly. What? Mom didn't seem to believe her ears. I said no. I said louder. I'm not coming back, Mom. I'm not going to support my whole family again. You kicked me out of the house, remember? Said you didn't need me anymore. But it was a mistake, she exclaimed. I succumbed to Robert's influence. He manipulated me, made me do that. I never wanted you to leave, Rachel. You're my daughter, my rock. My rock, I echoed. That's what I've been to you all these years. Not a daughter, a pillar, a cash machine. How can you say that? I could hear the tears in her voice. After all I've done for you. What exactly have you done for me, Mom? I asked quietly. In the last 5 years? Supported me? Interested in my life, in my plans, or just how much money I'd bring in this month? You're getting rude, she said coldly. Is it the influence of your new friends? Are they turning you against your family? No, Mom, I sighed. It's the result of me finally seeing the truth. You don't love me. You love what I can give you. Ungrateful! Mom's voice broke into a scream. After all we've done for you, we gave you a roof over your head, food, and education. And I've paid back 100-fold, I said calmly. For 5 years, I supported my family. I gave you almost everything I earned. I gave up my plans, my dreams, my opportunities. I think we're even, Mom." "You have an obligation to help us," she screamed. "We're your family. Abby needs new clothes. Michael needs a cell phone." "I'm not abandoning them," I countered. "I'm willing to help them, but not you, Mom, and not on your terms." There was sobbing, then screaming, then threats. I listened in silence, feeling a strange numbness, as if all this was happening to someone other than me. "You're going to regret this," Mom finally hissed. "When you're alone, 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 you'll remember your family, but it'll be too late." And she hung up. I sat in the dark, clutching the phone in my hand. There was an emptiness inside. No pain, no anger, no resentment. Just fatigue and a strange sense of release. The phone rang again. Jason this time. "Rachel, what's going on?" His voice sounded angry. "Mom's been crying since this morning, saying you refuse to help the family." "Hi, Jason," I sighed. "Yes, I refuse to come home and support my family again, but that doesn't mean I won't help you in an emergency." "But this is an emergency," he exclaimed. "We have no money. We have no money to pay for the house, for utilities." "Mom has a job," I reminded him calmly. "You have a job too, as far as I know. 2 adults can provide for a family." "You're selfish," he said, contempt in his voice. "You think only of yourself. What about us? What about your younger brothers and sister?" "I offered to help Abby," I said. "Specific help with books, with clothes." But she refused. Said her mom wouldn't let her accept anything from me. After I'd talked to Jason, the phone rang again. This time it was Michael. I didn't answer it. A minute later, a message came through. "You're letting the family down. Mom is crying. You have to come back." Followed by another. "If you don't help, we'll lose the house. It'll be on your conscience." I turned my phone off. Enough emotional manipulation for today. The next day at the hospital, Derek met me with 2 cups of coffee. "Black, no sugar, just the way you like it." He held one out to me. "You look tired." "Family problems?" I tried to smile. "Nothing out of the ordinary." My phone had been ringing off the hook all day. Mom, Jason, Michael. They attacked me from every direction, demanding, begging, threatening. "If you don't come back, we'll lose the house. It will be on your conscience." "How can you do this to your own mother, after all she's done for you?" "Abby's crying. She thinks you abandoned us." The last message made me stop. Abby. I didn't want her to think I'd abandoned her. I quickly typed a message to her. "I will never leave you. No matter what happens, I'll always be there for you. But I can't come home. I can't take over financially for the whole family again. That doesn't mean I don't love you." The answer came almost instantly. "I know. They're all pressuring me, making me write to you, call you, but I understand. You've already done more for us than you should have. I love you, Rachel." I sat on the bed, holding my phone in my hands. There were tears in my eyes, not from pain, not from resentment, but from relief. At least one person in my family understood me. And the phone continued to burst with calls and messages. My mother and brothers wouldn't give up. They demanded, they threatened, they pressed for pity, trying to get back the obedient, comfortable Rachel who had given them everything without asking for anything in return. But that Rachel no longer existed. "Can you tell us how you felt when your mom called to come home?" Dr. Noah Bennett, my therapist, looked at me over his thin-rimmed glasses. It had been 2 weeks since the night my mother had first called demanding to come home. 2 weeks of endless calls, texts, and threats. 2 weeks that forced me to finally admit that I needed help. I felt guilt, fear, anger. All at once, I faltered, searching for words. "That's normal," Dr. Bennett nodded. "In situations with toxic family relationships, we often have mixed feelings, especially when it comes to codependency." "Codependency?" That word stung. "You think I'm codependent?" Codependency is a pattern of behavior in which a person puts the needs of others ahead of his or her own to the point where it is detrimental to his or her mental well-being, he explained calmly. "From what you have said about your role in the family over the past 5 years, it sounds very much like a codependent relationship. After the session, I walked down the street, reflecting on Dr. Bennett's words. Self-care, one's own wants and needs, concepts that have always struck me as selfish. My phone vibrated. A message from Derek. "How was therapy? Would you like to have dinner together?" I smiled. We'd grown closer over the past few weeks. He was different, not demanding, not pressuring, just being there for me. "I'd love to," I replied, feeling a slight thrill. That evening, in a small Italian restaurant, Derek talked about his family, his teacher parents, his artist sister, his nephews, whom he adored. I listened with interest, but also with mild envy. His family sounded so normal. "I also have news," he said suddenly, smiling. "Did Margaret talk to you today?" "No," I shook my head. "Why?" "Then I'll be the first to tell you." His eyes glittered. "You've been promoted. You're now the head nurse of the ICU." I froze with my fork in my hand. "What? But how? I didn't even apply." "Margaret nominated you," Derek explained. "She said you were the best nurse on the ward and you deserved it." But, I still couldn't believe it. "There would be more responsibility. And more money," Derek finished for me. "Yeah, about 30% more. And a better schedule." "That's, amazing." I finally found the words. "I can't believe it." "Believe it." Derek reached across the table and held my hand in his for a second. "You deserve it, Rachel." The new position opened up new opportunities for me. 2 weeks later, I found a small but cozy apartment a 15-minute walk from the hospital. A one-bedroom with a tiny kitchen and a surprisingly spacious bathroom, it immediately seemed right. Right. "Are you sure you can handle the rent?" Margaret asked cautiously when I told her my decision. "I'm sure," I nodded. "With my new salary, I can do it. Besides, I need my own space." The day of the move was sunny and warm. Derek volunteered to help with the boxes, and the three of us, me, him, and Margaret, quickly moved my few belongings. "It's so weird," I said when we were done arranging the furniture. "I've never lived alone before." "You'll like it," Margaret assured me. "It's liberating." The first night in my new apartment, I couldn't sleep for a long time. Not because of the unfamiliar sounds or the unfamiliar surroundings. It was the strange, almost dizzying sense of freedom. At work, my new responsibilities kept me energized. I was creating schedules, training new nurses, coordinating the department. It was challenging, but also incredibly satisfying. The relationship with Derek developed slowly, cautiously. We ate lunch together, sometimes dinner after shift, went to the movies. He didn't rush things, as if sensing my fears and doubts. "I don't think I'm ready for a serious relationship," I told him one day as we walked in the park. "After everything that's happened with my family, I'm afraid of becoming a tool for someone again. A tool." "I understand." He nodded, not letting go of my hand. "And I'm not rushing you. We can be just friends, Rachel. Or something more when you're ready." The family, meanwhile, never gave up trying to get me back into my old role. The calls were less frequent, but messages came almost every day, from my mom, from Jason, sometimes from Michael. All with the same message: you have to help us. "Set up a blocker," Dr. Bennett advised in one of the sessions. "Don't read their messages, don't answer their calls. Focus on building your new life." I tried to follow his advice, but sometimes, in moments of weakness, I still opened the messages. And each time, I felt a wave of guilt and doubt rise up inside. "They're adults," Margaret reminded me. "Your mother and Jason are perfectly capable of working and providing for their family." One weekend, I decided to throw a little housewarming party. Nothing fancy, just a few colleagues from the hospital, Margaret, Derek. I was just finishing setting the table when the doorbell rang. Too early for guests, I thought. When I opened the door, I froze. Mom was standing in the doorway, followed by Jason and Michael. "There you are." Mom looked me over from head to toe. "You're settling in nicely, I see." "What are you doing here?" I tried to keep my voice calm. "I didn't invite you." "We need to talk." Mom stepped forward, clearly intending to enter. "We're your family, Rachel. We don't need invitations." I didn't move, blocking the entrance. I'm going to have guests. This is not a good time to talk. Guests? Mom snorted. You have time for strangers, but not your own family? Is that how far you've gotten in your selfishness? A familiar feeling of guilt rose up inside, but I suppressed it. I'm not selfish, I said firmly. I'm just living my life, just like you advised me to do when you put my stuff out the door. It was Robert. Mom splashed her hands. He made me do it. I would never kick you out on my own free will. It doesn't matter who forced you. I shook my head. What matters is that you did it. And now that Robert's gone and taken the money, you remembered me. We need help, Michael said quietly. We're having trouble paying the mortgage. The bank is threatening to foreclose on the house. I'm sorry to hear that, I said sincerely. But I can't solve this problem for you. Mom can get a job. You and Jason can work too. You're leaving us in the lurch, Mom exclaimed. How heartless you are. Your father would roll over in his grave if he saw what you've become. It hurt. Mentioning my father always hit me where I was most vulnerable. But this time I didn't give in. My father would want me to be happy, I said firmly, not living as a perpetual cash machine for the family. You've changed, my mother said bitterly. You've become cold, calculating. It's all your new friends, isn't it? Did they turn you against us? No, Mom, I shook my head. You're the one who changed me when you kicked me out the door. You showed me that I wasn't a daughter to you, but a source of money. We're your real family. Mom raised her voice. Not these strangers you're spending time with now. Family is those who care about you, respect you, appreciate you not for what you can give, but for who you are, I objected calmly. And by that definition, my real family now are the people who supported me when you turned your back. Now, please leave. I took a deep breath. My guests will be here soon. You're going to regret this, Mom hissed, turning toward the door. When you're alone, with no one to help you, you'll remember us. I'm not alone, I replied simply. And I don't need to be treated that way. When they left, I leaned against the door, feeling my knees shake. This was hard, painful, but liberating too. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from Abby. Do you have them? Mom took Jason and Michael and left without saying where. I quickly replied, yes, they were. They're gone now. Are they mad? Yes, but that's their problem, not yours. Rachel, I need to talk to you. In person. It's important. I frowned. What could be that important? Sure, when? Tomorrow after school? Mom will be at a job interview. Won't know I came to see you. Okay. Do you know the address? Yeah, see you tomorrow. The next day, Abby showed up at 4 sharp. She looked pale, tired, with dark circles under her eyes. What's wrong? I asked as I walked her into the living room. You look exhausted. I can't do this anymore, Rachel. She sank down on the couch, clutching the strap of her backpack. It's unbearable at home. Mom's either crying or screaming all day long. Jason and Michael are mad at the world. No one cooks, no one cleans. Everything is falling apart. I sat down next to her, taking her hand. I'm sorry to hear that, Abby, but what can I do to help? She looked up at me, her eyes full of determination. I want to get out of there, for good, and I need your help. Get out, but you're still underage. I'll be 18 in 3 months. She squeezed my hand. I've already applied to college in Portland. I got a scholarship, but it's not enough for room and board. My mom refuses to help, says I should stay home and get a job to help with the expenses. I sighed. History was repeating itself. Mom had found a new support in my place. Do you want me to help you with the money? Not only that, Abby shook her head. I want to stay with you for the 3 months until I graduate. I'll go to the same school. It's not too far from here. And then I'll go off to college. I was silent, thinking about what she said. For one thing, the apartment was small. On the other hand, I couldn't leave Abby in that toxic atmosphere. Does Mom know about your plans? No. Abby lowered her eyes. She wouldn't let me. She'd say I was betraying my family like you did. Abby, this is a big decision. I squeezed her hand gently. Are you sure you want to do this? Absolutely. There was no doubt in her voice. I can't breathe in there, Rachel. I can't think. I can't learn. I feel like if I stay, I'll never get out of there. I looked at my little sister and saw in her the determination I had once longed to find in myself. She was stronger than I was at her age, bolder. "Okay," I finally said. "You can live here, and I'll help you with college. But we have to do it right, legally, so my mom can't accuse me of kidnapping a minor." Abby nodded, and for the first time in the whole conversation, a smile appeared on her face. "Thank you, Rachel. I knew I could count on you." Snow was falling in large flakes, covering the college campus in a blanket of white. I stood at the window of Abby's dormitory, watching students scurrying along the paths between the buildings, wrapped in scarves and jackets. "Do you regret choosing Portland?" I asked, turning to my sister, who was sitting at her desk, piled high with textbooks. "Not for a second." Abby smiled, setting her pen aside. "This was the best choice I've ever made in my life. Thank you for believing in me. It's been 6 months since the day Abby came to me asking for help. 6 months that changed both of us. She stayed with me for 3 months, graduated high school with honors, and went to college to study psychology. I helped her with tuition and housing, but that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was that we were supporting each other, learning to be more than just relatives, but a real family one where there was respect, care, and room to grow. Jason called yesterday. Abby got up and came over to me. Said he got a real job at an IT company. I'm happy for him, I said sincerely. He needed to grow up and take responsibility for his life. After I refused to come home and Abby moved in with me, something changed in our family dynamic. Jason, who had always been Mom's favorite, suddenly realized that he now had to be the main man of the house. He was angry at first, then accused Abby and I of betraying him, but eventually he started to change. He got a job, helped pay the bills, even started taking night classes. "And Mom?" I asked cautiously. "Did he say anything about her?" Abby sighed. Same old. Works, but not enough. Complains that everyone's abandoned her. But at least she's stopped trying to manipulate. I guess she realized it doesn't work anymore. My mother has tried to get back in touch with me several times over the last 6 months. First, it was angry texts, accusations, threats, then tearful pleas, reminders of family duty. Finally, she shifted to a calmer tone, even tried to apologize, clumsily, with reservations, but still. I didn't slam the door completely shut, but I set clear boundaries. We could communicate, but only if she respected my personal space and didn't try to take advantage of me. It was difficult for both of us, but it was the only way to maintain any kind of relationship. She asked if you were coming for your birthday, Abby added. She wants to have a family dinner, my 30th birthday. A round date that used to scare me, it seemed like I should have accomplished a lot by the time I was 30. But instead, I was stuck being the perpetual caretaker for my family. Now, however, I looked at this date very differently, as the threshold of a new, truly my life. I'm already planning to celebrate with friends, I said. Margaret, my coworkers, Derek, and you, of course, if you can make it. I wouldn't miss it, Abby winked. And you and Derek are serious, aren't you? I smiled, feeling my heart warm at the thought of him. Over the months, our relationship had grown beyond a simple friendship. We were often together, going on short trips on weekends, cooking each other dinner. He was reliable, calm. Next to him, I didn't feel like a backup, not a convenient tool, but equal, valuable, loved. Yeah, it's serious, I nodded. He helps me believe that I deserve to be treated well. That love isn't just about sacrifice and compromise, but joy and support and growth. You deserve that more than anyone, Abby said quietly, after everything you've been through. We talked for another hour, then I drove back to the city. The drive from Portland took 2 hours, and the whole time I thought about how my life had changed over the past year. The quiet, obedient, easygoing Rachel was gone. In her place was a new one, confident, aware of her boundaries, able to say no without feeling guilty. Derek was waiting for me outside the house with 2 cups of hot cocoa. "How's Abby?" he asked, kissing my cold cheek. "Fine," I smiled, taking the cup. "She's doing great in school, she's making friends, and I think she's dating someone, though she won't admit it. Just like her older sister," he winked. "Just as smart and independent." We went upstairs to the apartment, which had become truly mine over the year. The pictures on the walls, the books on the shelves, the flowers on the windowsills, all of it reflected me, my tastes, my preferences, not someone else's expectations or demands. "I have news for you," Derek said as we settled on the couch. "Margaret has approved your project. The hospital administration has allocated funding for a program to support healthcare workers." I jumped up, not believing my ears. "Really? They agreed?" "Absolutely." He smiled broadly. "You're officially the project manager. Support groups, psychologist counseling, burnout prevention, just like you suggested." I couldn't contain my joy. This project had been a dream of mine for the past months. I saw how many colleagues suffer from emotional exhaustion, how burnout destroys their lives and health. My own experience, years of living in the role of perpetual support for others, helped me realize how important it is to take care of myself, especially for those who are constantly caring for others. "It's incredible," I hugged Derek. "Thank you for supporting me." "You did it all on your own." He hugged me back. I just stood beside him and marveled. On the day of my 30th birthday, we gathered at a small restaurant me, Derek, Margaret, and her husband, a few colleagues from the hospital, and Abby, who had traveled from Portland. Not a huge crowd, but the very people who had become my real family, chosen, not given by birth. "To Rachel," Margaret raised her glass, "to the woman who taught me that it's never too late to start living for yourself, who showed me that true strength is not in enduring pain, but in having the courage to make a difference." "To Rachel," Abby said, "to the sister who not only found her path, but helped me find mine, who taught me that love doesn't have to be conditional." "To Rachel," Derek said quietly, looking into my eyes, "to the woman who shows me every day what it means to be strong, independent, and yet gentle, who isn't afraid to be vulnerable, but also doesn't let anyone overstep their boundaries." I looked at these people, so different, but united by a genuine concern for each other, and felt a lump come up in my throat. A year ago, I stood at the gate of my parents' house, looking at my belongings in garbage bags, and thought my life was falling apart. And today, I realized that it wasn't the end, but the beginning of a real life, my own. When the party was over, and Derek and I got home, I found a card from my mom in the mailbox. A simple birthday card with a short message that read, "Happy birthday, Rachel. I'm proud of you. Mom." Not an apology, not an admission of mistakes, but a beginning. A small step towards something new. A relationship based not on dependency and manipulation, but on mutual respect. Maybe in time we can build something real. Maybe we won't. But it was my choice now. Not an obligation, not a duty, but a choice. "Is everything okay?" Derek put his arm around my shoulders, noticing me staring thoughtfully at the card. "Yeah," I smiled, snuggling against him. Just thinking about how long I'd come this year, from someone who didn't know how to say no, to this. To being able to choose my life, my relationships, my path. "How does it feel?" He kissed me softly on the temple. "Right," I closed my eyes. Like I'd finally found my own voice. And it said exactly what I wanted to say, not what I was expected to say. That night, as I fell asleep next to Derek, I thought about how real power doesn't always come in loud words or harsh actions. Sometimes a quiet but firm no is enough, and the courage to choose yourself, even if the whole world says it's selfish. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself, and that is the most valuable find of all possible.
Любі глядачі, дякую вам за перегляд, ставте лайки та підписуйтесь на канал. Також напишіть в коментарях, чи погоджуєтесь ви з Дженніфер, чи вона мала розказати все матері, чи ні, чи мала все розказати своєму коханцю щодо свого чоловіка, чи ні. І також прокоментуйте, чи вам сподобалось це відео.